Hello my brush lads, lasses, and everybody in between. My name is Tyler, and today I am bringing you the second in my 4-part deck tech series dedicated to a very special friend of mine on Twitter, David, at SugarDogster, for all of his help with helping me foil out my prized King Ghidorah deck. Our first deck in the series was dedicated to David himself, with Marrow-Gnawer and Mono Black Rats. For today's list, we'll be tackling his daughter Olivia's favorite planeswalkers, Liliana and Chandra. Olivia, I hope you enjoy. Now, to start things off, let's take a look at our commander, Rakdos the Showstopper. He's a 6/6 flying demon with trample for 4 black-red. When he enters the battlefield, we flip a coin for every non-imp, non-devil, and non-demon creature, destroying every creature that comes up tails. I figured since flavor was the main goal of the deck, this specific incarnation of Rakdos did a very good job representing the chaos of Chandra with the ruthlessness of Liliana. And besides, most of our deck focuses on planeswalkers anyway, so he'll most likely not be touching anything important of ours. This deck ended up being relatively easy to craft around, since Chandra and Lily are so popular and thus have tons of planeswalker cards printed for them. To the degree where I even got to cut some of the least good ones. But now, we have a lot of planeswalkers to still get through, so let's get started. For Chandra, we have Chandra Ablaze, Chandra Nalaar, Chandra Acolyte of Flame, Chandra Awakened Inferno, Chandra Bold Pyromancer, Chandra Fire Artisan, Chandra Flame's Fury, Chandra Flame Caller, Chandra Heart of Fire, Chandra Novice Pyromancer, Chandra Pyro Genius, Chandra Pyro Master, and Chandra Torch of Defiance. Whew, that was a mouthful. Chandra Ablaze is 4 red for 5 loyalty and lets us either discard a red card to hit something for 4, make everyone discard their hand and draw 3, or ultimate to cast any number of red or instant sorcery cards from our grave without paying their mana costs. Chandra Nalaar is 3 red for 6 loyalty and can either ping a player for 1, deal X damage to any creature, or ultimate to deal 10 damage to a player and all creatures they control. Acolyte of Flame is 1 red for 4 loyalty and can either put a loyalty counter on each red planeswalker we control, make 2 1/1 red elementals with haste that exile on our end step, or can let us cast an instant or sorcery with mana value 3 or less from our grave, then exile it. Chandra Awakened Inferno is 4 red for 6 loyalty, can't be countered, and lets us give our opponents each an emblem that hits them for 1 on their upkeeps, which can stack, by the way. She can hit every non-elemental for 3, or she can have any creature and planeswalker take X damage, exiling them should they die. Bold Pyromancer is 4 red for 5 loyalty and can either add red to our mana pool and hit a player for 2, deal 3 damage to any creature or planeswalker, or ultimate to deal 10 damage to target player as well as each creature and planeswalker they control. Are you seeing a theme here? Chandra likes to burn things. It won't be ending anytime soon. Fire Artisan is 2 red for 4 loyalty, has the passive of pinging targets for damage anytime a loyalty counter is removed from her for any reason, and can either exile the top card of our library to play this turn, or ultimate to exile the top 7 cards of our library to play this turn. Worth noting, since her ultimate is -7, she then gets to hit an opponent or planeswalker for 7 damage. Flame's Fury is 4 red for 4 loyalty and lets us either hit any target for 2, hit a creature for 4 and its controller for 2, or ultimate to hit a player and every creature they control for 10 each. Flamecaller is 4 red for 4 loyalty and can either create a pair of 3/1 elementals with haste that exile at the end step, discard all cards in our hand and draw us that many +1, or deal X damage to each creature. Heart of Fire is 3 red for 5 loyalty and can discard our hand to exile the top 3 cards from our library that we can play until end of turn, hit any target for 2, or ultimate by letting us search our graveyard and library for any number of red instants or sorceries, exile them, then let us play them until end of turn while also giving us 6 red mana. Ooh, 4 more Chandras left. Novice Pyromancer is 3 and a red for 5 loyalty who can give our elementals +2/+0 until end of turn, give us 2 red, or hit any target for 2 damage. Pyrogenius is 4 red for 5 loyalty that can hit each opponent for 2, hit a single creature for 4, or ultimate and hit a player and all creatures for 6 apiece. Pyromaster is 2 red for 4 loyalty and can deal 1 damage to a player and 1 creature they control, making it unable to block this turn. Exile the top card of our library to play this turn, or ultimate to exile the top 10 cards of our library, choose an instant and sorcery that was exiled this way, and cast 3 free copies of that spell. Finally, Torch of Defiance is 2 red for 4 loyalty, and actually comes strapped with 4 different abilities. She can exile the top card of our library and let us either immediately cast it or hit each opponent for 2, give us 2 red, hit a creature for 4, or ultimate and give us an emblem that says whenever we cast a spell, this emblem deals 5 damage to any target. Whew, that was a lot of red burn and discard. But what do we do with the things that we discard? Well, with the second half of our duo, we can make use of them. For Liliana, we have Liliana Vess, Liliana Deathmage, Liliana Death Wielder, Liliana Death's Majesty, Liliana Dreadhorde General, Liliana Untouched by Death, Liliana Waker of the Dead, and finally Liliana The Last Hope. OG Liliana is 3 black for 5 loyalty that can make a player discard, search our library for any card and put it on top, or ultimate and pull all creatures from all graveyards onto the battlefield under our control. Deathmage is 4 black for 4 loyalty that can return a creature card from our grave to our hand, destroy a creature and make its controller lose 2 life, or ultimate to make an opponent lose 2 life for each creature in their graveyard. Death Wielder is a whopping 5 black for 5 loyalty that can put a -1/-1 counter on a creature, destroy a creature with a -1/-1 counter on it, or ultimate to bring back all creature cards from our grave to the battlefield. Death's Majesty is 3 black for 5 loyalty who can make us a 2/2 zombie and mill us for 2, return a creature from our grave to the battlefield and make it a black zombie, or ultimate to kill every non-zombie creature. Dreadhorde General, my personal favorite, is 4 black for 6 loyalty with the static ability of drawing us a card whenever any of our creatures die. Her abilities can either make us a 2/2 black zombie, make everybody sacrifice 2 creatures, and generally draw us 2 cards while doing it, and her ultimate, which makes each opponent select a single permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifice the rest. Yeah, 1 creature, 1 land, 1 artifact, 1 enchantment, and 1 planeswalker if they have them. Yeah. Our last 3 are Untouched by Death, Waker of the Dead, and Last Hope. Untouched by Death is 2 black for 4 loyalty and lets us mill ourselves for 3, make each opponent lose 2 life and gain us 2 life if we happen to mill a zombie, give -X/-X to a creature where X is the amount of zombies we control, or let us cast zombies from our graveyard this turn. Waker of the Dead is also 2 black for 4 loyalty and can force every opponent to discard, making anyone who can't lose 3 life, give -X/-X to a creature where X is the amount of cards in our graveyard, and ultimate to give us an emblem that says at the start of combat on our turn, put a target creature from a graveyard onto the battlefield under our control, it gains haste. Finally, we have the Last Hope. 1 black for 3 loyalty, she can give us a single creature, -2/-1 until end of turn, mill us for 2, then grab a creature from our grave and return it to our hand, and ultimate to give us an emblem that says at the beginning of our end step, put X 2/2 black zombies into play, where X is 2 plus the amount of zombies we currently control. And those are all the front runners for our deck. For creatures, we again focus more on flavor than on function. Zombies and the like to support Liliana, dragons and elementals for Chandra. Akum Hellkite is a 4/4 flyer that hits any target for 1 when a land enters the battlefield under our control, or for 2 if that land was a mountain. A Nothomancer is a zombie that hits a player for any amount of damage equal to the amount of non-basic lands that player controls, and then can be unearthed for a second go-around of burn. A Risen Gorgon is a zombie that gains Death Touch if we control a Liliana Planeswalker. Ashenmoor Liege is an elemental knight that buffs our red creatures by +1/+1 and our black creatures by +1/+1. meaning if a creature happens to be both colors, it gets +2/+2. It also burns any opponent for 4 if they try to target it with a spell or an ability. Ashling the Pilgrim can make herself bigger, then explode for any amount of burn damage to each creature and player, while Ashling the Extinguisher makes our opponents sacrifice creatures when she connects. Backdraft Hellkite gives all of our instants and sorcerers flashback equal to their mana value when it connects with a player, and Balthor the Defiled can let everyone return all their black and red creatures from the grave to the battlefield. Cavaliers of Flame and Night are a pair of elemental knights that come stacked with abilities. Flame can grant haste to our board, let us cycle our hand when it ETBs, and hits every opponent and enemy planeswalker for X damage when it dies, where X is the amount of lands in our graveyard. While Knight comes with lifelink, can sacrifice one of our creatures when it ETBs to kill something else, and returns a creature with mana value 3 or less from the grave to the battlefield when it dies. When it comes to sidekicks for our ladies, we have Chandra's Incinerator, Chandra's Magmut, Chandra's Phoenix, Chandra's Pyroling, Chandra's Spitfire, Liliana's Devotee, Liliana's Elite, Liliana's Reaver, Liliana's Scrounger, Liliana's Shade, Liliana's Spectre, and Liliana's Standard Bearer. The Incinerator is a 6/6 trampler that can cheapen itself based on how much non-combat damage we've dealt before casting it. It also copies non-combat damage we deal to opponents by hitting a creature or planeswalker they control. Magmut can tap to hit a player or planeswalker for 1. Phoenix is a hasty flyer that can return itself to the hand when a red sorcery, instant, or planeswalker we control deals damage to an opponent. Pyroling gets +1/+0 and double strike anytime we deal non-combat damage to an opponent, and Spitfire is a flyer that gets +3/+0 whenever we hit an opponent with non-combat damage. The Devotee boosts zombies by +1/+0 and can make a zombie token on our end step for 1 and a black if a creature died this turn. The Elite gets +1/+1 for each creature in our graveyard. The Reaver has Death Touch and forces our opponents to discard a card and makes us a 2/2 zombie when it hits a player. Scrounger puts loyalty counters on all of our Liliana planeswalkers on every end step if something died that turn. The Shade searches for a swamp for our hand when it enters the battlefield and can pump itself by +1/+1 for a single black. The Spectre is a flyer that makes every opponent discard a card when it enters the battlefield, and the Standard Bearer is a zombie with flash that draws us cards equal to how many creatures died this turn when it enters the battlefield. Our last 2 creatures are creatures that flip into planeswalkers in Chandra, Fire of Kaladesh, and Liliana, Heretical Healer. Chandra taps to hit a player for 1 damage and can untap every time we cast a red spell. If she deals 3 or more damage in a turn, she flips into Chandra, Roaring Flame, a 4 loyalty walker that can hit a player for 2, hit a creature for 2, or ultimate to hit every opponent for 6 and give them an emblem that hits them for an additional 3 on their upkeep. Liliana has lifelink and says that when another non-token creature we control dies, we can transform her and make a 2/2 black zombie creature token. On her flip side, she's Liliana, Defiant Necromancer. She starts at 3 loyalty and can make each player discard a card, return a non-legendary creature with mana value X from the grave to the battlefield, or ultimate to give us an emblem that says whenever a creature dies, return it to the battlefield under our control at the beginning of the next end step. For artifacts, we run Soul Ring and Arcane Signet for cheap ramp, Chandra's Regulator to repeat Chandra's planeswalker abilities or to draw cards, and last but certainly not least, the Chain Veil to double up on the amount of times we can activate our planeswalkers each turn. Moving on to our instants and sorceries, we have Chandra's Fury, Chandra's Outrage, Chandra's Triumph, Chandra's Flame Wave, Chandra's Ignition, Chandra's Outburst, Liliana's Triumph, Liliana's Influence, Liliana's Scorn, and Diabolic Tutor. The Tutor can search up a card in our deck for 4 mana, and come on. Look at that art. Fury hits a player for 4 and each of their creatures for 1. Outrage hits a creature for 4 and its controller for 2. Flame Wave hits a player and all their creatures for 2 each, then lets us search our grave or library for Chandra Flame's Fury and puts it into our hand. Ignition lets us target a creature and have it deal damage equal to its power to each other creature and opponent. And Outburst hits a player or planeswalker for 4, then lets us search our grave or library for Chandra Bold Pyromancer and adds her to our hand. Lastly, for red, Chandra's Triumph hits a creature or planeswalker for 3, or for 5 if we control a Chandra Planeswalker. Liliana's Triumph makes every opponent sacrifice a creature as well as discard a card if we control a Liliana Planeswalker. Liliana's Influence puts a -1/-1 counter on a creature we don't control and lets us search our library or grave for Liliana Deathwielder and add her to our hand. And Scorn destroys a creature, then searches up Liliana Deathmage from our grave to our library and puts her into our hand. Our final 3 cards before moving on to the mana base are Liliana's Mastery, an enchantment that buffs our zombies by +1/+1 and makes 2/2/2 zombies when it enters the battlefield, and both Oath of Chandra and Oath of Liliana. Oath of Chandra hits a creature for 3 when it enters the battlefield, and hits every opponent for 2 on the end step if a Planeswalker enters the battlefield under our control this turn. While Oath of Liliana makes every opponent sacrifice a creature when it ETBs, and makes us a 2/2 zombie on every end step if a Planeswalker enters the battlefield under our control this turn. For our land base, we have Blood Crypt, Command Tower, Dragonskull Summit, Foreboding Ruins, Graven Cairns, Luxury Suite, Smoldering Marsh, Sulphurous Springs, and Temple of Malice that can each tap for either of our colors. Barren Moor, Castle Lochthwain, and Desert of the Glorified all tap for black, while Desert of the Fervent can tap for red. Blightstep Pathway can be played to tap for either a black or a red, while Ash Barrens can either be played as a colorless source or be basic land cycled away to grab whatever basic we need. Care Keeps taps for a colorless, or can make an 0/1 red kobold that we can use for blocking. Bloodstained Mire, Evolving Wilds, Fabled Passage, Grixis Panorama, and Jund Panorama are all fetches that can grab us whatever colors that we currently need. Top things off with 7 mountains and 9 swamps, and we are ready to go! And there we have it! A fun and powerful, but also very flavorful deck that melds together the attitudes and playstyles of both Chandra Nalaar and Liliana Vess in one convenient package. I hope you enjoyed this fun deck tech, and if you did, be sure to leave us a like and subscribe if you want more in the future. Let us know who your favorite Planeswalker is down in the comment section below. Anyways, I've been Tyler, and I will see you all next time. Peace!